My mother divorced my father because he's a drunk. But then, she takes my sister and leaves me with my dad. Well, long story short, I'm the one who got my dad back on his feet. I'm the one who took care of him from his worst moments to his best moments. And now I have to confront my mother because something terrible is happening. I don't want to talk to her, but I'm being forced to, and I need your help.
Hey everyone, my name's Joan. I grew up in a messed up family. My parents got divorced when I was just a teenager, and I was left alone to take care of my drunk father. And I'm still doing so in my adult years. But I don't think I can do that for much longer. Ever since I was a kid, I remember my dad being a drunk. Nick is a gentle man. He's never hurt anyone in my family. He is the pathetic sort of drunk. He began drinking after he lost both of his parents in a car accident. I suspect that he blames himself because they had asked him to drive them, but he had been busy with work and could not do so. They got into an accident on their way that led to their deaths, and my father had been their only child, and he was drowning in sadness because of this. This caused him to lean on alcohol to make himself feel better. But it went on for years and years, and this caused him to lose his job, and he and my mother, Ruth, started having disagreements. Ruth is a strong, independent woman. People these days would call her a girl boss. She has her own company and earns a great living. But soon she got tired of my father being a dead weight for her. She left him and took my younger sister, Nicole, with her. She took my sister's custody because she has always been closer to her than me. And she simply left me behind. My father just let me live in his house after that. My father loves Ruth. She is the love of his life, and so when they split, he tried to get her back with promises of doing better. But it was clear that Ruth was over my father and wanted nothing to do with him, and even less with me. It didn't make sense to me when I was a child. Either way, due to the misplaced love my father felt for Ruth, he decided not to take her money during the divorce. That was the wrong move, because now we had two people under the same roof who did not work. I was 15 when they split, and my father's condition worsened when his wife left him. I was left alone to keep the roof above our head, and from then on I began working odd jobs. I waited tables while also walking the neighbor's dog and even working at a bakery during the weekends. We didn't have much savings left, especially after Dad mostly spent it on alcohol. But we made do, or rather I made it make do. All through our financial struggles, Ruth and Nicole were thriving, and I was envious of the life that I could have had only if my mother loved me more. They would invite me to birthdays, and I would go initially, but soon it became unbearable, and I realized that it's better to spend those days at work instead of with people who abandoned me. So I stopped meeting with them for good, and by the looks of it, they didn't miss me much. I went to a university for culinary arts while maintaining my part-time job. We didn't have the budget for the tuition, and Ruth would never have helped. Not that I would have asked her anywho. But my father decided to sell his small house, and we began living in an apartment, so I could go to my dream college. By then, I had hoped that my father would get better, but he did not. I didn't understand, and I still don't. How he could be hung up on Ruth. I mean, she's the one of the vilest people I've ever had the misfortune of knowing. She's incredibly selfish, and it's so easy for her to abandon her kid. Saying that I have some resentment towards Ruth for abandoning me like that is an understatement. I despise the women for just throwing a 15-year-old to the wolves to fend for herself. I can never forgive her for it. And the fact that she had no issues taking care of Nicole, it grates my gears even more. This resentment calmed down a bit when I got a proper job. I began working at a 4-star restaurant a bit further from where my dad lived. I had to move away, but I began sending him money for the rent. The truth is that I feel indebted to my father. He isn't the best dad, but he did his best in the circumstances that he was into. He's a very sensitive person, and he has gone through so much in his life. When he offered to sell the house to make my dreams come true, I was shocked that he was ready to make such a sacrifice for me. The least I could do was to pay for the rent on his apartment. Soon, I met my future husband, Aaron. Aaron is a very nonsense kind of person who likes to be organized. He also comes from a humble background like me. I instantly liked him because he was so structured, exactly the opposite of what I've grown up with. I was immediately attracted to him, and I found his goofy side that came out during his unguarded times made me feel even more special for being on the receiving end of it. We've been married for a bit over 4 years now. He never had any issues with me sending most of my earnings to my dad. He also had a younger sister he was helping through college. We're in a stable financial situation, though. He works as a senior manager at a 5-star resort, and we earn enough between the two of us while having people who depend on us. However, I recently found out that my father's apartment rent is going up significantly. I also just recently found out that my father has run out of his savings from when he sold his own house to put me through university. He still doesn't have a job, and I don't know what to do anymore. I don't think I can pay his increased rent while paying for his everyday expenses as well. I doubted myself when I called Nicole. I know that she works under our mother and earns quite well. I've driven past her house on, a few occasions. It's a big enough house to showcase what sort of money that she earns. So I got on the call with her and told her that our father needed help. But she refused to help. She claimed that she did not. She hadn't even met our father since the divorce, so she doesn't owe him anything. I was so mad at her for this. It's not like she was lacking the money. It wouldn't hurt her if she pitched in a little bit, but she bluntly said no. I cut the call short before I exploded. I know that it's not her fault, but sometimes it's difficult to not see her as the problem. I've pondered a few times. If Nicole had not been born, would Ruth have taken me with her? I know that wondering such thing only tortures me, but I see Nicole and I feel like she's living the life I should be living. I see her and I want to be just as baggageless as her. I also went to Ruth's house. Ruth was nice enough to not point out that we were talking for the first time after almost a decade. She asked me about how I was doing and was shocked to find out that I was married. I think she was happy about it, but I can't tell. She isn't even very easy to read, especially now that she's practically a stranger. But when I asked her for help, she refused it. She said that she did not want to help her ex-husband in any capacity, and if I had any self-preservation skills, I would dump him just like she did. I was shocked at her reaction. I asked her if that was why she dumped me, and that got to her. But I wasn't there to fight with her about this, and I asked her one last time if she would help me help my father. She told me that she had moved past that part of her life and she would not be dragged back into it. It felt like she was talking about me in the instance and not about her ex-husband. But at the end of the day, neither my mother nor my sister are ready to help me take care of my dad. I'm so exhausted from all this and I don't know what to do. I can't just wash my hands off of the only person who cared for me like my mother did for me. I mean, what should I do? What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. Oh my goodness. We're going to hop into some comments because this story is heating up. The first comment is totally behind OP. First of all, says Mbap42, you're not responsible for your father. He was responsible for you. You should not feel obligated to help him or guilty for not doing so. But I can understand why you would want to help him anywho. He was the only one who was there for you, in whatever capacity, so my advice would be that you should maybe let him move in with you. Of course, after discussing it with your husband, maybe if your father is in your sights, you can help him get maybe a job and maintain it. Or if you have the budget, you can discuss possibly going to rehab with him. It sounds like he really needs some help. If not rehab, then at the very least therapy. I think he has a lot of unresolved trauma. If you get that treated, he might start coming back to his old self. Either way, I wish you the best of luck. Comment 2 from Livy with 4 E's. What I don't understand is why you would expect your sister and mother to help you take care of your dad. None of them are obligated to do it, including you. But clearly, Nicole has no contact with him, so why even debase yourself and go ask her for help? Ruth is right. You need to drop your father if he's not willing to do something about the situation he's gotten himself in. If he can't even get a small job to take care of his everyday expenses, you should not care for him. He's not a child, but you were when you took on all this responsibility. I know you don't like your mom, but she might be right in this situation, and you should listen to her suggestion. Your father needs to get his act together. It's been a long time since everything happened. It's not too late. Update number 1. Hey guys, it's Joanne. It's been about 2 months since I last posted here. I'd spent these months taking your advice and actually having a discussion with my hubby, Aaron, about my father and his financial situation. Aaron is a very nice person. I knew he would agree to let my dad stay with us. I just didn't want to ask it of him, but I broke down and asked him if my father could stay with us for a few months, until he gets a stable job. He knows that my father has not been able to maintain a stable job, and it was his condition that he would need to get a job to stay with us. He suggested that my father gets a job at the resort, where he is the senior manager. He claimed that if he had work, it would distract him from his drinks, and he would keep an eye out for him, and it would also give him an opportunity to save up and get his own apartment in a couple of months. I talked to my father, and he agreed to come by. He was nice and agreed to take a night shift at a resort, claiming that it would give us a bit of privacy during the night and that he would come home and sleep when we were off to work. I felt relieved that he was taking initiative. I even had high hopes for him, But Aaron had gotten a call the first night itself. Apparently my father showed up drunk as a skunk. He wasn't drunk when he left, so he must have drunk on his way. I was furious with my father, and Aaron left us alone to talk. Things deteriorated even further from there, and he often showed up drunk and often messed up tasks that he was assigned to. He even stumbled into the guest a few times and came really close to getting charges pressed against him for stumbling into a rich man's son. Aaron had handled these situations and de-escalated them. Soon, Aaron had no choice but to fire my father from his job. My dad had not even worked for a month and had gotten himself fired. I was enraged. I don't know what else to do with him. What more can I do? Aaron is being understanding, and that makes me feel even worse. I don't want my father to be such a burden, but he is. He's begun working as the receptionist at the restaurant I work at, and I got him this job by pulling a few strings. I'm kind of new to the restaurant, and I work at it here, and it's in no shape to make such a request, but a friend of mine there was able to help. Now, I guess I can just hope that my father sticks to his job, but I'm frustrated. I've done absolutely everything in my power. I let my father move in with us. I'm even handing him a job on a silver platter, and he still can't get sober enough to work. Update number 2. Hey, it's Joanne. About a month ago, I told you that my father messed up the job that my husband got him at the resort he works at. So I pulled a few strings left and right, and I got him another gig. Unfortunately, he messed up that job as well. Yep, the first week had gone so good. He seemed to enjoy the menial work, but he spilled a batch of really expensive wine and was fired on the spot. I'd been so disappointed when I found out, and ever since I and my husband have been trying to find a job my father will be suitable for, but my dad has just been sitting at home watching Roku and drinking. This has caused a rift between Aaron and me. He's had enough. He doesn't think that my father is putting any effort into making his situation better. He told me that he doesn't want to be helped, or maybe I should stop helping, but I can't. How can I just let go of the only parent who cared enough to let me stay with him when the other completely abandoned me? And don't even get me started on my university funds. Even thinking about throwing him out makes me feel sick to my stomach. Aaron does not understand. I know he's trying, but he doesn't understand. Just 2 days ago, we had a huge fight while my father had gone out for a walk. Aaron wanted my father out, and he was quite stern about it. He even gave me an ultimatum. He said that unless he gets a job and stuck to it until the end of the month, he would himself remove my father. I know that there's no way my father's going to find a job and stick to it in such a short period. That's how I found myself at my sister's doorstep yesterday. I told her that my husband was not going to let her father stay with us and asked her if she could keep him, just for a few months until he got a stable job. I know, she isn't obligated to watch my father, but I was not going to back up and, I wasn't going to my mom. Not after all that she had said to me the last time, but Nicole refused to let our father crash with her. She then proceeded to pretend like she was better than me for wanting to wash my hands of my parents. She claimed that she would never, ever have done so with Ruth if she ever needed her. She claimed that if it were Ruth, she would have taken her in, but it was their father, whom she doesn't even know, so she refused to help. Guys, at this point, I'm growing truly desperate, so I begged her. I begged her to help me and take our father in just for a few months. until I got something going for him, but she was immovable. I don't know what else I'm going to do. I just can't let my father go. He did everything he was capable of doing for me. It seems so little, but it was all he could do. I'm the reason why he doesn't have his own house. I can't just let him become homeless like this. Update number 3. Hey guys, I'm back. So, it's Joanne. It's the end of the month and I had not been able to get to my dad to stick a job in the meantime. I knew my husband would not force me to throw my father out despite what he said, but I knew he wanted him gone. I did the reckless thing I came up with on the spot. I packed my father's crap up while he slumbered after being drunk, and I tried talking away his drink earlier this month, but he had gotten really sick with the withdrawal effect. I had to force him up and guide him to the backseat of my car. I realized that I needed to confront the person who had caused his responsibilities to be on my shoulders. I took my drunk father to Ruth's house in the middle of the night. I was quite angry, and Ruth's bewildered expression only made me feel triumphant. She was mad when I dumped my father on her expensive leather couch, which me and Dad could never afford on a part-time job salary. Ruth asked me what the hell I was doing with my father at her house, so I told her that Nick was her responsibility now, at least for a few days. Well, Ruth was refusing, saying that she wanted nothing to do with her ex-husband. I reminded her that she was the one who abandoned her teenage daughter with her ex-drugged husband. The least she could do was help her when she came to ask. I reminded her that I had taken care of this man for more than a decade, all because she had decided to abandon us. Now, it's her responsibility to keep him from alcohol poisoning, at least for a few days. Ruth told me she'd always hoped that her leaving Nick with me would be a wake-up call for him. I knew she was pretending to be the saint that she had never been. I reminded her that she had a lot of time to see that it never got better and came for her daughter. But she did not do that, didn't she? I told her to stop with her saintly facade. I am not Nicole, and so it won't work on me. It's always been like this. She pretends to be this angel in front of Nicole, but I know the real Ruth. I've known the real Ruth since I was a kid, and maybe it's time to expose her. Ruth kept on screaming at me to take Nick away, but I just told her to keep Nick with her until I have something figured out for him. Ruth was not happy, and she kept thrusting my father's luggage at me, but I went my merry way. However, instead of going home to Aaron, I decided to go to my father's storage unit, where he kept my childhood stuff after he had to leave his apartment. I had no plans to figure something out for my father. I have nothing. I don't know. Mainly because I do have something better. See, my father doesn't even have to work, and Ruth will have to pay, and she will do this willingly. Let me tell you what I came up with in just a minute. Update number 4. Hey guys, it's Joanne. It's only been 2 weeks since my last update. Ruth had came back to me with my father the day after I dumped him at her doorstep. I'd asked her to keep him at her place for a week, but she had only taken him in for 24 hours, just like I expected. But I have a trick up my sleeve I told y'all about. You see, I went to my father's storage unit to get my childhood stuff, and what Ruth doesn't know is that I know her big secret. I've been keeping it hidden to use it against her at a time when it would hurt her the most, just like she had hurt me, and it was time to play my ace. I had let my dad go inside the house while me and Ruth had a little chit-chat on the porch. She told me that she wants nothing to do with me and my father, so it's best if I stayed away from her. At least she had the audacity to say it to my face, instead of doing her angelic facade in front of me, and we both know the kind of woman that she is. I told her that she would do exactly as I wanted her to do, because I knew her biggest secret. Well, that gave her a quick pause. I saw it when her shoulder went tense. I brought out pictures I found in her room of her lover while she was still married to my dad. She claimed that these pictures proved nothing, and that's when I revealed that I know everything. I told her that maybe these pictures reveal nothing, but what about a DNA test? She went pale as a ghost. I told her that I knew that Nicole wasn't my father's daughter. She was my half-sister. And the worst thing is that I know her real father is behind bars for being, well, into little kids. Yeah. Now, how would Nicole feel knowing that her mother had an affair with a known man like that, and that she was his daughter instead of a daughter of a drunk like she had thought? That's when Ruth began talking in my language. She asked me what I wanted, and I told her that I wanted her to buy my dad a small house that he could live off the rest of his years in. She immediately agreed to it, but only if I had handed these pictures of Nicole's father to her. I shrugged and gave them to her. She wanted me to sign a few agreements, claiming that I didn't have any other pictures of her and her baby daddy. Well, in the upcoming days, I signed the agreement and she handed over a house to my father. It's too bad she didn't say anything about telling Nicole the truth. The moment I had the keys to the house in my hand, I texted Nicole the identity of her father and blocked both Ruth and Nicole. Nicole worships her mother, but I know that she's just as curious as me. She won't be able to stop herself from finding out the truth. And when she does, it will cause a huge explosion in Ruth's life, just like she did to me all those years ago. Final update. Hey guys, it's Joanne. I'm here for one last update. It's been 2 months since my explosion, where I told you that I revealed the truth about my sister's parentage to her to get back at our mother. Well, Nicole certainly believes me now that she has looked into it. A few weeks ago, Nicole had me crying, claiming that I was lying. But I could see it in her anger that she had done her own research and found out the truth. But I had no empathy for this woman, just like she had none for me. I told her to go cry to her mother, who cheated on my father with a creep, instead of just coming to me. A few days later, Ruth shows up at my front door, anger radiating from her. She was screaming, saying that I had not honored our agreement and that she would take me to court. I reminded her that we had only talked about the pictures and the agreement. She should have really thought it through. She was so mad at me because her daughter had quit working for her and wasn't even speaking. Apparently, Nicole had gone to meet her father and found him just as disgusting as his charges made him out to be. I told Ruth to clean up her own messes instead of coming to the daughter she barely met for over a decade. But of course, she needed to have the last word and threatened to ruin me for what I did to her. I just rolled my eyes and shut the door in her face. Then later, I went to my father's house to check up on him, and he has joined therapy just like you all suggested that he should. He had not wanted to go to rehab, and I respected his wishes. I haven't forced him to get a job or anything just yet. I can take care of his everyday expenses without caring about his apartment rent. He's getting better with each therapy session, and I have hope that he will soon be able to get a job and keep it. He's truly trying, and I believe in him. I guess that's all I have to tell you. Thank you for following me on this journey, and I had not thought that I would be revealing such a family secret here when I began writing this, but this is where life took me.
All right, guys, let's look at this one comment because it got so much attention. It says, I understand that you wanted to get revenge against your mom, but why did you have to bring your sister into this? You hurt your sister just because you're bitter that Ruth chose her over you. But either way, none of this is Nicole's fault. You're just a selfish, jealous person who wants to cause everyone pain. You could have left it all when Ruth had agreed to give you a father and a house. Wasn't that enough for you? Instead, you hurt your sister deeply. Finding out that your father is not the man you thought is one thing, but finding out that he's a convicted felon can really mess you up. Nobody deserves to have such a truth bomb dropped on them so callously like you did to her. You are not a good person, Joanne. Guys, let me know if you agree with that commenter. Do you think OP went too far by exposing the secret anyways? Drop it down below. Let's talk about it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I hope you enjoy these sort of stories. I read them every day, so make sure you subscribe. I'll see you tomorrow. And of course, remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.